I am Romana Aniya Ercegović. I am a writer, poet, creator of theater. I am transmitting energies of Gaia, of other dimensions, of sacred feminine. I'm a facilitator for workshops, for retreats, and what my passion is discovering beauty and magic on every step of my path. Hello, hello.
Could you tell me and everybody here
Yes,
who listening and watch you a story about your awakening?
About my awakening. I was born in Slovenia a long time ago, and I was always interested in something different. I was always interested in stories, in imagination, and in playing stories and writing stories and creating more colorful life. That was always something that really inspired me also as a child. So I ended up in a theater academy, which was my dream, and I actually completed it. I studied in Slovenia and then in Lesley University in Cambridge in USA, and I made my PhD in dramaturgy here in Slovenia. So basically I'm not just a drama queen, I am a doctor of drama. I've had lots of drama in many levels, and this drama brought me here where I am now, understanding the duality and more understanding the games that we play, and more understanding the dynamics of this aspectology, as we call it, but it's actually about the inner theater. That's why I love theater so much, because everything is, even Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage and we are merely players in it, and not just the whole world is a stage, but me, the whole me is a stage with so many actors within.
Could you tell me the story about theater?
Divine Joy Theater.
Theater.
Yeah. So at some point of my serious journey, I realized that life is created for joy. At some point I remember Kutumi came to me and he said to me, Romana, now it's time for you to write a comedy. And I was like, this was something new for me, you know, like I didn't really do any comedy by then. And then I had a dream about theater with king and queen and all this royal stuff in it. And my friend Kim Sepala came to visit me in my house in Slovenia, and we started to talk about theater. Why wouldn't we do Shaumbra theater? And so we started to, I don't know which of us, but we started to feel that Shakespeare play Midsummer Night Dream kind of could be the beginning. And based on this story, it was just an inspiration. We wrote then completely different story, but what was the similar with Shakespeare was that there were these fairy characters, elves and fairies, magical beings who interfere human lives, who interfere, who kind of are helping us and bringing magic in our lives. And so we created this play that some of you maybe have seen about, it's called, first play was called To Be or Not to Be Human. and I'm not gonna tell the story because you can see the performance on video. But then I went. There was actually one interesting thing. I was having really beautiful experience of feeling myself, feeling my light, and at the end of this experience, Adamas appeared in my this vision, and he said, now I invite you to come to Sibiu to this imagining workshop about imagination, about Merlin. And I said, oh, I'm not really interested so much more about it because I was kind of disconnecting with Crimson Circle at that time, and but he was kind of bringing so much joy in my heart when he appeared. And I said, okay, I would love, but I don't have so much money at the moment, you know, to spend on that. So he said, don't worry about that. So when I came back from this retreat that I was having in nature, where this vision happened, and I come home, and there was in my, I received from author's rights more money than I usually do. So it was just exactly so much as that I could afford this trip to Romania. And so what happened there was that I met Yasha and Otmar, and we started to make so much fun in the restaurant about the playing the roles of queens and kings, and we had so much fun. And I said, do you want to join the theater? Let's do the Shaumbra theater. And they both were like, yeah, let's do it. So when I came home, Kim was living with me for a month or two, so we started to write a script. And then in a few months we had the script ready, and we invited some new actors, and we did this performance, which was so much magic and fun, and so much beautiful energies were there. So we did our premiere in Munich 2017. It was a big thing. It was brought lots of laughter after the performance. I remember one Shaumbra lady saying to me that she was depressed for many years, and now with this, after this performance, she started to laugh so much that her depression is gone. So this was one of the most amazing comments of all the beautiful comments we got of this performance. And so we did another one that had title To Be or Not to Be in a Relationship. We did this one in Bled in Slovenia next year, and somehow it's still there, this unfinished business that maybe the third part of it wants to be created. So I feel like maybe time is coming for that. And Aniya coming to my house, to our house, Aniya and Chris, it brought so much passion back to me, because I was having a little bit of also some bitter experience with, especially with Bled performance, because of organization, and things didn't really go so wonderful in some ways. Lots of dragon stuff was happening, which is not unusual for us, Shaumbra. Yeah, I was kind of not really inspired after that to do the third part, but now I do, and something is starting to, some magic is starting to sparkle again. So stay tuned. When I say Shaumbra, I'm not really meaning very seriously. This is something, for me, this is kind of a label for people who have kind of gone through the same graduation, the same university, so to speak, which I honor very much. But I feel like we are now graduated and we don't need university anymore or any kind of structures. So calling myself a Shaumbra is just to kind of remember that we had this similar education, but not that I'm very seriously using this term or that I identify with this term, because I feel like now is really time when we jump into our own freedom completely and create from our own divine connection, our own divine beingness as divinity, because we are divinity now and we are now aware of that, and our soul is here. If I would need to kind of say when my awakening started, it's, you know, sometimes it's difficult to put the particular moment when it happened, but for me it was very important moment in 1996. It was the time when I moved in my own apartment, and one day in the bathtub I just had this vision of Native American woman in front of my eyes, and she was so real, like this white grandmother, and she said, "Don't worry about anything, we are with you, we are with you every step of the way." So I didn't have any idea what this means or who are they, but later I was starting to have also another man coming in my visions, and he was a Native American man with two white feathers, or one feather depending, and he was starting to teach me peace. So they were starting to teach me, they were kind of my inner teachers of starting to connect with myself. It just happened spontaneously. I wasn't really attracted to any groups or meditations groups or something like that. I was kind of always suspicious about these things. So I started kind of my lonely journey with lots of integration starting to happen, lots of memories starting to happen, lots of visions. And later I was also realizing that my energy or my soul is very much connected with Gaia, with Native American peoples, and when I was traveling, I was having really unusual experiences, like elders from Hopi or Navajo. They were gifting me feathers. That is really, really big honor for Native American culture. And I was invited to some ceremonies that they have, and at some point I was feeling I need to do a vision quest, which was like, some of you know, it's when you go into retreat, into nature, and you are just alone by yourself. So I did that, and in the first day I lie on the ground, and I feel this light overwhelming me, coming from the ground, from the earth. And this light starts to telepathically speak to me. And this was happening in New Mexico, near the house of my friend in the desert. And I was starting to feel this message coming to me. And this was like, message was, your next performance is gonna be about White Buffalo Woman. And this, telepathically, this message was that I know this land, that I was many times there, and that I was even on this particular land, that there is Kiva. This is a sacred place of Pueblo people, and that I was a sacred woman there, and I was telling people stories, and that now it's time that I start doing that in my life also. And I was like, I was almost starting to cry, because it was 2002, and I was then feeling so alone. And I said, how can I talk to people about sacredness if nobody wants to listen about it? You know, I felt so misunderstood in that time, that it just felt like, what's the point of talking about these things, about sacredness, because this voice, this Gaia, or was talking to me, was, she wanted me to talk about sacredness of the land, of the connecting with people's hearts, and to realize our own sacredness. And it just felt like, why would I even do that? Who would listen? And she said, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. I started to study my master degree in Lesley University in Massachusetts, and I was in this, as a part of this study, was also visiting different Native American ceremonies, and learning more about the culture. And it was very easy for me, because I remembered lots of it, and I was also very warmly accepted with people most of the time. So I was starting to write the story, and in 2003 I really had this performance, and I'm still playing this performance, and it's really beautiful. It really opens up this connection of with Gaia, with sacred land, with Native American spirit. And there is another story that I want to add to this. When I was laying on this land there and receiving this message, a part of the message was also, I didn't know that there was Kiva on this land, and also this, I saw the spirit of Native American talking to me in this vision, and he said to me, he will show me where this Kiva is, and he took me for my hand and showed me where it was. So when I was over with this retreat, I came to my friend. She was the owner of this property, and she kind of, I didn't want to speak too much, because I was a little bit afraid what she would say, you know, like you cannot talk those things with everybody. And then she asked, then she asked, like, did you meet him? And and I said, you mean this Native American spirit? And she said, yeah, I know him. He helped me to build this house. And then she explained to me that there was Kiva there, that there was this settlement of Pueblo people on her land, and that the Kiva was exactly there where this Native American spirit showed me. So yeah, this is one little story about how things were happening to me. I have lots of them to say, to tell. This connection with Gaia, with the nature, with beings of nature, they come to my my stories. Here is my latest fairy tale that speaks, all of my stories speaks about coming to myself, how character comes to finding self-love and connection with the safe space within. And this particular girl, her name is Anna, she comes to find herself and in the magical land where Butterfly Queen tells her that she is beautiful as she is and that she doesn't need to prove that to anybody, and she doesn't need to believe when people tell her opposite. I also travel a lot, so when I travel or when we travel together, sometimes with John, it's many times I find myself on the places where I was already in previous lifetimes, and sometimes this is very painful memories because lots of this magic, lots of this multidimensionality was covered or forgotten or destroyed by more mental, more religious cultures, and now lots of these places are again opening up as we are opening up to our multidimensional nature, to our magic, to our divinity. Also is Gaia is opening up in magnetic field of Gaia is more and more bringing up this darkness, this suppressed energies, and bringing so much crystalline beauty out. And I many times visit these places that I remember, and I remember how, for example, in Greece, being in these temples and these sacred places where many of us were kind of guardians of this purity, of this connection with divine. Now, when in this Heaven's Cross, when this door was kind of more and more is opening, I feel like we were actually being these guardians of this divinity, of the connection with divinity for many lifetimes. And now this is more and more easy. This is more and more divinity, and light is becoming more and more easily flowing. And I believe, many of us, like me, are starting to feel more and more safe to speak about this visions that we have, or to feel that we are finally free to breathe, because many things were happening in the other realms, and now I feel like, now it's not just safe to be here, but it's also so much responsibility is over, and I can actually relax and just be myself and enjoy life more. On the other hand, lots of this ancient knowledge, lots of this ancient energies of magic and multidimensionality of us is available to us. So we can open to our intuition, we can open our knowledge, our vision, our sacredness, and I feel like many times I feel these circles of priestesses, for example, from Atlantis or from different lifetimes, that we are now remembering this divinity that we have forgotten, and now we are remembering and opening to completely new way of experiencing life and new reality. My name is Romana Aniya Ercegović. I am a writer, author of 6 books, poetry, children, fairy tales, which are of course not for children only, but sometimes it's easy to get closer to human mind with calling them children's stories, because we like to think that magic is not for us, but it is.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
you
hosting me.
Yeah.
Very, very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much, Aniya, for bringing blessings and in my life, and thank you for being here and hearing me.
Thank you so much.